Hi. Hi, my name's Alexis. Um, and I wanted to talk about something very serious. I want to talk about abuse and mental illness. I suffer from anxiety and depression, and it was caused by trauma that I had when I was a child. And I feel that abuse, all kinds, aren't being talked about enough. Mental illness is being talked about and taken care of more nowadays, but it wasn't always that way. I'm proud to say that it's being acknowledged as a real thing. What I'm not proud of is how society is treating real abuse. All kinds of abuse. Physical, mental, sexual, verbal, all the abuses. They're still being ignored. It's such a common thing for both men and women to experience. When I was a child, I was sexually abused. When I was a teenager, I entered relationships that were physical and sexually abusive. Now I suffer from anxiety and depression. I suffer from night terrors and flashbacks. And it's the worst thing that I've ever gone through. I want to say that the abuse was worse than the flashbacks and the night terrors, but that's just simply not the case with me. The abuse and everything I went through went on for years. I had a couple years of sexual abuse with a family member, and then I went on to physical and sexual abuse with boyfriends. And when I have nightmares and night terrors and flashbacks, it's like I'm still going through the abuse. And yes, I see a therapist. And yes, there's other things that can help, and I'm doing those things. But what I found to help me most was to talk about it with people who experienced similar situations or who are experiencing depression and anxiety, whether it be from the trauma, from a trauma, or from the chemical imbalance. Talking about it helps. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. I was always ashamed of my abuse. I hid it so much that it's insane. And because I was so ashamed of it, I went through it over and over and over again. And no, it's not my fault. And if you're being abused, it is not your fault. It's not. I don't care what anyone says. It is not your fault. There are people who want to help. And if you're like me, it takes a lot to reach out and get that help. It is time for the world to start talking about this more. It is such a common thing. Abuse and mental illness. Now, mental illness is being talked about, and people are trying to take care of it. But what they're not doing is taking care of the abuse. If you notice signs that someone's being abused, there are ways to help them. And if you think that they're going to hate you, they're not. My story, I didn't have a choice but to tell. I wasn't the one who told about my abuse, about the sexual abuse I was going through by a family member. A friend of mine told, not me. And if I was still friends with her, we lost contact a long time ago. But if I was still friends with her, I would thank her. She saved my life. If a friend of yours is going through abuse, if you are going through abuse, don't be scared to get help. Don't be scared to talk about it. You are important. It is hard to heal. It's a long, exhausting journey. Trust me, I know. But it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself. Don't be scared to get out of the situation. Please, please reach out. If you don't know how to do that, talk to a friend. Look up numbers online. Talk to your doctor. Call the police. Please, I'm begging you. You don't have to suffer. Your friends do not have to suffer. If you know someone who is being abused or is suicidal or is harming themselves or is suffering, please get them help. Please get yourself help. And please share your stories. I was a little girl, and a family member who I thought was just the best person in the world sexually abused me for at least 2 years. And then I went on and pretended that nothing ever happened, so I wouldn't lose the family that was connected to him. And then when it came out, I still lost them. They didn't believe me. And then I went on and dated a man, a guy, a boy. I was a teenager, I was 13, who took advantage of the fact that I was sexually abused. And he would physically abuse me because I wouldn't pleasure him sexually. And I lied about that too. I kept that a secret for years. It is time for us to no longer be victims, to no longer be survivors, to not be looked at as if we can't do what other people can do, to be treated like we're weaker than everyone else because we are strong. You are strong. Your friends are strong. The weak person is the abuser, not the receiver. And it is important for you to know that. You matter. You are strong. You can make it through. It is a hard journey. Seeking help is hard. Talking to people about it is hard, but it's worth it. Getting help is hard, but you don't have to live with it for the rest of your life. I am currently getting help, and I suffer every day from flashbacks, nightmares, and night terrors. There are nights where I'll wake up screaming. Because I think it's still happening. But my life's not always going to be like this. And someday, hopefully, I won't have to worry about waking up terrified. All you have to do is ask for help. All you have to do is get your friends help. Please seek help if you're being abused. Comment on my video. I'll reply. If you don't have a phone, I'm sure talk to your doctor. Tell them what's happening to you. They can help you. They will help you if they're a good doctor. Mental illness, anxiety and depression, no matter what causes it, it's a painful thing to go through. Abuse is even more painful to go through. You do not have to suffer. You do not have to be alone. I know people say this all the time. But trust me when I tell you, it's easier when you have help. Don't hurt yourself. Don't take your life because someone else hurt you. Don't blame yourself because your mind tells you it's your fault. It's not. It's not. And the willpower to say those things to yourself, to say, it is not my fault. I do need help. I will get help. The willpower to seek the help that you need, it's hard. But you have it. And I know you do if you're surviving through trauma, if you're surviving through abuse, if you're surviving through the constant depressive thoughts and the anxiety to leave your house. If you are surviving through that, then you have the willpower to get help. It's time. It's time for the world to see abuse as a real problem. Kids are killing themselves. Self-harm is happening every day. People are shooting up schools and supermarkets and all those things, and we don't know why. But maybe if we had noticed signs beforehand that it was happening, maybe then we could have prevented some of those things. And maybe now that we know, we can prevent those things from happening. If you see a child with bruises that seem unordinary, if they're not on a sports team and you ask what happened and they make up a story that sounds phony, I'm not saying that they're lying. Their accidents happen every day. Kids fall off bikes. But, just check on them. Ask them. If it seems suspicious, maybe get them help. Or, talk to someone who can see if, they need help. It's not your job to make sure everyone's healthy. It's not our jobs to protect everyone. But if the community wants to be safe, then maybe people should actually start caring. There's been cases where kids have died and everyone gets upset about it, even when they didn't know them. And then months or years later, it happens again. And nobody recognized the signs that happened the first time, The signs of depression are so visible. It's not like some people try to hide it, some people don't. Some people drop hints and some people don't. But if your friend is no longer talking to you, if they're hiding in their room consistently, if they're saying scary things to you, talk to somebody, a professional, a school counselor, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor. Call somebody who might be able to help them. Call their parents. If it's an adult, you can still help them. Get them help, please. Get yourself help. Get out of the situation. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know from experience how hard it is to get out of an abusive relationship. But if you're surviving the abuse, then you can survive anything. And getting out of that situation is the best thing you can do for yourself and for your family and for your friends. Nobody wants to watch you go through this horrible thing. And if you're a friend, don't be scared of losing this person for getting them help. I would much rather be hated for saving someone's life than watch them die from abuse or from depression. I would much rather live with the idea of that person being alive and hating me than knowing that I let the abuse continue. It's a scary world. Abuse is very common. Mental illness is very common. If you know somebody, or if you are somebody who needs help, there are so many services that can help. And if you don't know a service, talk to your doctor, go to a therapist, call 911 if you have to. Get help. Help somebody who needs help. This needs to be taken care of. This needs to be talked about. It's always going to be happening, but it shouldn't be happening as much as it is now. It's just as bad as the rest of the stuff going on in the world. People are dying every day from suicide because of mental illness, because of trauma, because they think their life's not worth anything, and it is. If you are one of those people, you're worth everything. You are not alone. Get help. Seek help. Talk to a friend. Tell them you want help. Your life is worth everything, no matter what anyone says. You are worth everything. I promise. And you will survive. You just have to really want it. And you can escape. You can escape abuse. Trust me. You do not deserve what's going on. Please. Please listen. We don't always want to be looked at as victims. At the beginning, you are a victim. In the middle, you're a survivor. In the end, you're a normal, happy, living person. And we will all get there someday. We just have to look for the help. And the help is there. There are people who want to help you. Please reach out and get help if you are in a situation where you are being abused or if you are depressed. People want you to live. I want you to live.